All right, we're almost ready to finally start making our game. I promise you'll be able to create something very soon. I just have one more video I want to show you that's related to the editor before we proceed. And this is going to talk about custom layouts for our editor. So this is something, as you progress, you're really going to like this. Everybody has their own different workflow. They like windows in different spots. And you just like having your setup to be custom of exactly how you like it. So if I look at the game view tab right here, if I click and drag this, notice as I move the mouse, it'll snap and dock to any close window, or I can leave it free floating like this. If you have multiple monitors, you can drag this onto any monitor. So you can put any window where you prefer. Myself, when I'm not doing a video like this, I use 3 monitors and I'll put my game view as its own monitor on the left-hand side so I can always see the output of the game. And then I'll use a bunch of my menus on the right-hand side. That way my main monitor is mostly the actual world environment that I'm creating. So use what you have, it's very handy. But as you notice, if I drag it around, I can dock it anywhere I want. So if I let go here, it's going to dock these side by side, and then I can move and resize them. I can resize any of these windows. And now another thing you can do is not only can you dock them, but say this console window down here, if I click on it, say if I wanted this to be a tab with the inspector up here, I can just click and drag this. And if I put it up here, notice it's another tab. So if I let go, now it's a separate tab. So you can see I can click between them up here. So the amount of freedom you have in Unity with this, you can customize almost anything. It's great. Another thing I want to point out here is if you have a high resolution monitor, you may want to change the size of your text. I do this in Windows myself where I adjust the size of it, but you can do it right in Unity as well. If we go to Edit and then Preferences, go down to UI Scaling, and you can see this option here. So if you find your text in Unity is too small for you to read or you want it to be bigger, come into this setting, and then you can just uncheck this one so you're not using desktop scaling, and you can set it to whatever you want it to be. Now when you set it, it will ask you have to restart Unity to see the change. So I'll do that quick here just to demonstrate it, and then I'm going to put it back to my 125. Okay, so here it is. Now you can see it's scaled up to 150. So this is basically 50% bigger than what the default would be. I'm just going to change this one back. All right, and we're back. So now what I was talking about with layout groups is, remember I showed you previously, if you mess up your windows and you lose any of them, you can go to Window, Layouts, and Default, and that'll reset it to default. Now there's another thing here. On that same menu where we see all of the layouts here, we can actually access that right here in the top right corner of the screen. So if we look at the layouts here, we could reset it to default, but what if I really like this layout and I want to keep it? I can select Save Layout, and it's going to ask for a name. I'm just going to call it Test. And I'll say, okay, in my case, I already had one test from before. I just overwrite it. And now I have a layout called Test. So now if I click this drop down and I go to Default, it's going to reset to the normal default view. But then if I want to switch back, I can go here, select Test, and now it's right back. You're going to have different windows that you open for different tasks. There's so many tools built into Unity. So if we're working on something like making animations, we're probably going to have 3 or 4 different windows open just for animations, and it's going to clutter our screen. So we can make different layouts that we switch to based on what we're doing, and then we use as much screen as possible. Okay, so that covers the basics of creating a custom layout. What I would recommend is as you progress through the course and you feel like you want to start moving things to different spots, if you want to save that layout, come back and use this video as a reference anytime and make as many layouts as you need. Now I'm just going to switch this back to the default layout. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to keep with the default for most of this course just because it's the most easily recognizable one where it's easy to see where all the windows are. Feel free to use whatever layout you choose.